Yoo-hoo, welcome back. I'm Michelle, I'm Canadian, I'm living in the UK, and I just realized that I know very little about the place that I moved to. Today's episode was inspired by a viewer who correctly observed that I don't know my London geography very well yet. So during this past week, I've been on a mission to learn as much as I can about the city of London. Full disclosure here, I've only just touched the surface. I haven't spent nearly enough time in the city of London to do all of the things, let alone to be able to exit Bank Station confidently and end up exactly where I need to be without the help of Google Maps. It's safe to say I'm not an expert, so rather than imparting centuries of knowledge on you, which could end up being fairly dry content, I'm going to share with you some of the highlights of my adventure, some tips that I found helpful, and most importantly, some pretty epic views of the London skyline. If you're like me and you've moved to or visited London from abroad, you hear London and you think of landmarks like Big Ben, Tower Bridge, Buckingham Palace. Sorry to break it to you, but none of those places are actually in the city of London. Even the Tower of London is technically in Tower Hamlets, which makes sense. This is also the London borough that Eric and I moved to. If you are from London, the UK, or you already know the difference between the City of London and the Greater London area, you are quite likely rolling your eyes at me right now. Just stick with me. Obvious, yet helpful. The City of London is considered London's business district. It's often referred to as the Square Mile City. It was established in and around AD 50 after the Roman invasion when it was called Londinium. Side note, if you're interested in Roman history, you can visit the Roman Temple of Mithras. It's being preserved underneath the Bloomberg Space Building. It's free. I've been. It's pretty cool. Now that you've looked at a map and generally know where the City of London is, it's time to bring that map to life. And what better way to do this than from the top of a skyscraper? Eric and I did just that by visiting the Sky Garden on the 35th floor of the Fenchurch building.
What?
Sorry, the Walkie Talkie Building. You can visit the Sky Garden for free. Right now, bookings are recommended due to COVID, and the lineups can get pretty hefty. But if you book breakfast at the Darwin Brasserie, you get access to the Sky Garden before it opens to the rest of the public at 10 a.m. And you get a reasonably priced English breakfast. So I'm looking out over the City of London from the 35th floor of the Walkie Talkie Building, and I start thinking, you know, for as old as it is, the City of London is so diverse in its appearance. The landscape of this historic city has been shaped by thousands of years of changing civilizations, trade, plagues, various invasions, more plagues, the Great Fire of 1666, the bombings of World War II, and the growth of financial institutions, changes in technology, among plenty of other events. A visit to the Museum of London is a great way to learn more about the historic events that have shaped this city. I particularly liked the World War II exhibit. But did you know that the Museum of London and the City of London teamed up to create 20 themed self-guided walks? Yeah, Self-guided walking tour, let's go. Okay, it may not sound super exciting, but this option seriously helped me hack the convoluted streets of London and see a lot in a relatively short period of time. If you want to check these out for yourself, I've included a link in the description below. There's even one that's not described as a pub crawl, but it's totally a pub crawl. I chose the Great Fire of London tour, which takes you along the path of destruction left by the famous 1666 fire. Wow, really upbeat topic, Michelle. I know, but I would be remiss if I did an episode on the city of London and I didn't talk about the Great Fire. It was kind of a big deal. The tour starts along the Thames path, where chaos broke out as merchants and workers tried to save their goods from burning warehouses. You pass London Bridge, which the tour explains was an insufficient escape route, as it was the only bridge along the Thames at the time, and it was crowded with houses. You know, I think there are plenty of reasons not to build houses on bridges, and this is certainly one of them. Later, you head up Pudding Lane, where a king's baker became famous not for his pies, but rather his forgetfulness, which resulted in the 5-day, 5-night blaze. The tour then takes you to the monument to the Great Fire, great spot for a snack, along the city's medieval streets, giving you just a sense of what it might have felt like to walk through London in 1666. Then you can wander through Leadenhall Market, past the Royal Exchange, which, by the way, has been destroyed and rebuilt 3 times. The tour comes to a close with a walk through Guildhall, past St. Paul's Cathedral, and the Golden Boy at Pye Corner, where it is said that the fire was stopped and serves as a warning to future generations. Consider us warned. Finally, you can end the 2-ish hour walk at the Museum of London, or might I suggest that you spend some time at St. Paul's Cathedral and really let it all sink in. Be warned, the view from the Golden Gallery at St. Paul's is worth it, but it's 528 steps to the top and you're gonna feel it. While I was sitting in the dome area just listening to the audio guide, I was startled by ominous sounds coming from the grand organ. It was a nice treat. I really wasn't expecting that. St. Paul's wasn't safe from the fire either. It was thought to be because of its stone walls and churchyard. But its wooden scaffolding and roofline caught fire, causing it to be rebuilt by Christopher Wren in 1710. The building we see today survived World War II and stands proudly in the middle of the city of London as a symbol of strength, resilience, and hope. Over this past week, I've been reminded that human history can be both devastating and inspiring. Imagine what historians will say about the years 2020 to whenever we decide to stop making history. I've also learned that the City of London has been shaped in part by its tragic history, not only in terms of how it appears, but also the character of its people. I think that this is really well illustrated when you visit St. Dunstan's in the east. Many people know this location as one of the most Instagrammable locations in London, but when you take a closer look, you'll learn that this Grade 1 listed building dating back to like 1100 sustained damage in the Great Fire of 1666, and again during the Blitz of 1941. After centuries of repairs and with support of the people of London, the city decided to turn St. Dunstan into a public park, creating a really unique oasis in the southeast end of the city. Thank you for joining me for another episode of A Canadian Abroad. I hope I've inspired you maybe to get out there, explore, and learn more about the places and cities that you live in. Keep those comments and recommendations coming. Who knows, maybe you'll be the one to inspire my next adventure. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week.